So let's kick this thing off and get rolling. So today we're going to talk about do's and don'ts when embedding BI into your applications. As usual, we will do a few slides, then kind of show a demo. If any of you have joined our previous demos, you're going to see some interesting stuff today, as usual. But we're really just trying to show you that getting Reveal into your applications is super simple. So through my demo today, I hope that you see that. So with me, as usual, is Casey McGuigan, our product manager for Reveal and product owner. She also does the same for our Slingshot product, which is a digital workplace and collaboration product, which uses Reveal inside of it, which is pretty slick. And also on the line today is Brian Lagunas. He is a product owner for the Reveal SDK, and he will be there to answer questions and whatnot for anyone that has them. And my name is Jason Barris, as usual. So today we're going to look at the benefits of embedded analytics, 5 do's and don'ts, and then a demo of embedded analytics in 8 steps. And if you've been here before, or it's the first time, like I mentioned, I really want you to see that it is very easy to get started. We have a lot of guidance for Reveal. We have a lot of videos. We have a lot of really simple samples that will help you get going on getting Reveal into your application. So that's hopefully what will come through today. I'm going to create a server app. I'm going to create a client app in Angular. You can do it in Blazor. I'm going to show you something in just pure HTML. Doesn't matter. As usual, recording and slides will be available after the webinar, and in our follow-up email, you'll get all that. And then please ask questions in the chat or the Q&A, and we will answer them. So the benefits of embedded analytics. Again, Gartner is really doing a ton of research around this space. Probably in the last 5 to 7 years, it's really blown up, where we've gone from standalone SaaS applications that can do dashboards to embedding that directly in an application. So then users get all of that capability in context in real time when they're using an application. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about not, oh, I need to go do data analysis. Let me jump over to Power BI, another application, lose kind of where I was at in my existing app, and then have zero context to what I'm looking at, zero discussion points, not really knowing if it's specific to me or not. Having it embedded in your application does keep you in the app, and it keeps that workflow going. So we've done webinars on all of the benefits of embedded analytics in terms of time savings, ROI, and even for some companies, how to make money using it. But Gartner does say that 80% of application providers say that embedded analytics is important to their users. So staying where they're at in their existing application to do all of their analytics. So 4 advantages that we've highlighted, as well as others. No doubt increased productivity. There was a study by Microsoft, I just saw the numbers, where since the beginning of the pandemic, pre-pandemic, I think it was people spent, or on Microsoft Teams, people were in meetings for I think it was 400 million minutes a day. Now that number is like 2.7 billion minutes a day, where we're in meetings on Teams, on Zoom, et cetera. What does that mean? It means that we're spending, or we're actually being able to document more where we actually spend time, and we lose productivity unless we have tools and applications that help us. So something like embedded analytics will help you cut down on that task switching, time switching, lost time for all that, extra hours a day that you're in meetings on Zoom and Teams. Of course, data-driven culture and decision-making. If even one person in your organization can get an insight from data and make a better decision to help you drive revenue, then it's worth the cost. Competitive advantage, no doubt. The majority of our customers have existing applications that they're trying to do digital transformation with. Adding embedded BI really accelerates that. So you could have your dev team spend 2 years trying to do something to your application, which will be out of date by the time they ship it, or you can embed analytics within a month and have huge value and huge competitive advantage over your existing, or for your customers and against your existing competitors. And of course, increase revenue. We do have customers that look at embedded BI as an add-on. So maybe their product is $2,500 a month for the BI module. They have to pay an extra $2,500 or $500 or whatever it happens to be. But you can look at this as a revenue driver as well. So when we think about 5 do's and don'ts, you might be able to come up with 20 do's and don'ts. We've kind of boiled it down to a handful of items here that you want to consider when you're thinking about embedding analytics into your app. One thing is to think in the long term. One of the problems that happens when you start talking about a digital transformation or the roadmap for an existing application is that you have your development team and architecture team say, hey, we can build this and we can make it so awesome, et cetera, et cetera. The problem is, as you know, when it comes to building software, things take like 5 times as long. It's been proven that 40% of IT projects fail, 60% never get shipped. So there's all this mountain of evidence that says when IT or internal teams try to build technology, it's hit and miss if it actually ever ships. So by using a vendor like Infragistics with Reveal to embed BI, you know that the vendor's actually handling all the heavy lifting for you, and then you're doing the integration piece. Evaluate the technology that you're using. Of course, you know this already, not only from the terms of productivity, but what does your team know? We're working with customers across the board. Are they using Java, .NET, Blazor, Angular? How does this technology fit into their technology? And are they not getting boxed in for the future? The great thing about something like Reveal is it's platform agnostic. It's pure JavaScript. So you can embed it wherever you want, whenever you want. Ensure your data and analytics workloads are migrated to the cloud. I'm going to show you today how well Reveal handles that. Personalization and custom capabilities as well. The nice thing about Reveal being an SDK is that you have an API. And this is what Brian spends most of his time doing, making sure that API makes sense. So you can have that personalization, you can have that customization. You don't have to sacrifice what your end users get because of limitations. Look for more than data visualization. So we're talking about things like augmented analytics, statistical analytics, all the things that a user would want to do on top of being able to create dashboards or edit dashboards that you give them. I'm going to show you how that all works today as well. And then, of course, mobile friendly is critical in terms of the do's. So with that, what I want to do is I'm not going to go into all of the don'ts. You've probably read them as I was reading, but like I said, you can probably come up with a lot more when you think about what you've done in your own applications. But why don't we just go right into a demo? And I'm really sorry, I got a cold or something yesterday, so I'm going to try to avoid my annoying cough by drinking some water. So, Casey, you can see my blank screen?
Yes, I can.
All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, step 1, create the embedded or embed Reveal in the server side. So when you think about embedded analytics, if you're doing a web application, and most of you are probably doing web, you've got a client piece, which is your Vue.js, Angular, Blazor, web component, whatever it happens to be. And then you have your server piece, Node.js, Java, .NET. Okay, so the server piece has some interactions with the server, and then the client piece usually just does things like rendering. So in this demo, what I want to do is show you how to set up that server piece and how easy it is. Now, I'm going to show you like the super fast, easy route. Of course, there's always way more than you can do with this, but I'm going to just get it going so you can see how this thing works. So I'm going to create a new project. And what I'm going to do is use the .NET Core SDK. We have a Java SDK, a .NET Core SDK, and a Node.js SDK. So we have you covered. So I had a customer yesterday that said, hey, we're using Python. Fine, just use Node.js. The only thing Reveal is doing is it's basically a very lightweight server, grabbing dashboards, rendering them. You can have your Python server next to a Node.js server or next to a .NET Core server, and literally there's no impact on performance, on user experience, et cetera. So we basically have you covered with everything that you want to do. So I'm going to do a .NET Core project, and we'll just call it web application 2. That's fine. I'm just gonna take the defaults and I'm going to hit create. Now there's a couple things you need to do here. So the actual server is hosted in NuGet. So you're going to install a NuGet package, and you're going to do a couple things to sort of get this working. Now, if you're not a developer and you don't want to go through all this muck, what you can do is go to our website, go to revealbi.io, and there's a big button here that says download SDK. When you download the SDK and you install it, we have these built-in samples that you just kind of open up and you can run from here. But we've also made it so to get started to try this out, you don't need to do any of that. So I'm not going to do anything with installing anything. I'm just going to start doing a little bit of code and kind of make this thing work. So the first thing is I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to manage NuGet packages, and I want to browse, and I'm going to look for the Reveal BI NuGet package up on NuGet.org. So let's install this like so. And it's super easy to sort of light up this server with Reveal. So that worked there. I'm going to go to Program CS, and there's 2 things that I want to do here. Actually, there's 4 things that I want to do here. The first thing that I want to do is make sure that we're actually using the Reveal SDK. And you notice that I get this nice IntelliSense telling me what to do. And then we need to tell that the builder configurator to use the Reveal. So I'm going to say .add reveal like so. Now, what I'm going to do is everything's going to be local on my computer. So I want to enable cross-origin resource scripting, which means that I can access this server from localhost. If you're just pushing this to a server, you don't need this, but I need it because I'm doing everything local. So I just need to make sure that I create this CORS policy and that I tell the application to use CORS. So I created this thing called allow all, and I'm going to say allow all. And there's a few different configurations you can use here, but that's basically it. Now, the last thing that I want to do is, since the primary purpose of the server is to house our dashboards and to load them down to the client, I need to add some dashboards here. I'm not going to go into how to create dashboards today. There's videos online on our YouTube channel how to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to load up some dashboards that I already have on my computer. So manufacturing, marketing, some other ones. And this R- file is essentially a zip file which houses a JSON representation of the dashboard that you create, which includes all of the configuration. Using our Slingshot product, you can create as many dashboards as you want, save them out, and then reload them. So now let's go ahead and hit run. And since this is a .NET Core app and we're using Swagger, or it uses Swagger, it's going to give me the schema of the entire API that's available to me. And then I can try stuff out to make sure that it works. So let's click try it out. And I know I had a dashboard called sales. I'm going to click execute, and you'll notice that it went to localhost. That's my local computer, basically this URL, and it retrieved the sales dashboard. And this is what you would return down to the client when you want to actually do the client. So if I change this to marketing, we'll go ahead and try it out, execute, and we'll see that here is the marketing dashboard. So now the server is set up. So if I want to run a local app against this, I just say, hey, go to localhost 7133. Perfect. So now let's go ahead and create a client application. Now I want to highlight something first, and Brian's going to post this into the chat. Everything that we have is in samples online. So if I go to Reveal BI, nothing is secret with Infragistics. We do everything in GitHub. So if I go here to my samples, SDK samples JavaScript, you can see everything here for doing what I'm going to show you today. We also have React samples. We have Java samples. We have Angular, Blazor, you name it. We have everything. So go there and grab some code and just save it and run it. All right. So now what I'm going to do is open up a command prompt. And I am actually going to create an Angular app today. So let's go to my dev folder, and I'm going to do an ng new, and we'll call this demo x123 just to make sure we don't have a conflict with anything else that I've named. Would I like to add Angular routing? Yes. Use CSS. And now it's kind of doing its thing. With Angular, you're going to, it takes a minute to install everything from NPM. But here's my point. I already have a server set up. I have dashboards in the server. Now I'm kind of on that, downward slope of getting to the promised land of rendering those dashboards in an actual application. So one of the things about this is in the GitHub repo that Brian pasted, I've created code snippets for Visual Studio Code. I'm going to be using those code snippets today, and you can import those to Visual Studio Code, and it basically very quickly bootstraps your application to load dashboards. So it makes it really easy. So let me just change to demo x123. Let's open this folder up in Visual Studio Code. And so here we are. And of course, again, this is Angular. So we're going to do an npm install, and that takes a little bit to get going. But while that's going, oh no, of course, we already did the npm install, the npm start. So I'm going to do I'm going to do an ng serve, and this will open up automatically for us. So now I want to go and modify this app so it loads up Reveal. In the last few weeks, we actually made a change which enables you to use our global CDN for loading up the Reveal client. So I'm going to show you how that works right now. So the first thing I want to do is I have a couple dependencies here. I've got some CSS that needs to load for Quill.js, which is what we use for our editor for doing functions and whatnot. And then the other thing is some JavaScript dependency links around jQuery, Quill.js, Day.js. But here's the big one. If you've used Reveal before, you know that in order to use the client, you always needed to install the SDK, grab that JavaScript file, and then add it to your local app. Now it's up on the global CDN. So this is why I don't have to install anything. I can get going right away. It just makes it super, super easy. So now let's go into my app, and I'm going to go to app component. Well, first I'm going to go to app component.html. And my demo x123 app actually loaded up here. You can see this is the default boilerplate for Angular. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete that. And the nice thing is every time I do something, it automatically updates here in the application. So we'll be able to see how things load. So the first thing that we want to do is insert a div, which will host the Reveal view. So remember, we have a dashboard. We're going to load it from the server. Where do we stick it? We stick it inside of a div, basically a component that allows the dashboard to render on the screen. And like I said, I'm using code snippets here, so you can do all this yourself just as quick. Now, if I go to appmodule.ts, actually app component.ts, now this is where we're going to add a little bit of code that will load up the server. It'll grab that Reveal view and it'll stick the dashboard from the server into the view. So the first thing that we want to do is use the $ for jQuery to be able to get access individual HTML elements like that Reveal view. And then the other thing that we want to do is for our app component, we're going to implement after view init. You can do this on init. You can do it in any number of ways, but after view init is an easy way to do it as well. And you'll notice here as I'm making changes, my app here is kind of going to succeed or fail based on what I'm doing. The second thing that we want to do is we want to tell this code behind that there is a div called Reveal view that we need to reference within our function. And as you do this, you'll get these little red squigglies, and these red squigglies will tell you that you have a problem. For the most part, these problems are the fact that you don't have imports. So we need to update this import from Angular core. So they're just going to keep going up here. And it's the same thing with this guy. If we click quick fix, update Angular core, and then sort of everything works nicely. And then lastly, what we want to do is we just want to add this function, which will allow you to actually load up the dashboard. And it's only a few lines of code. And there's a couple extra lines of code here that you really don't need, but I'm using them because I want to show you something. So you'll notice that my dashboard actually loaded. So by default in my code snippets, I'm using a server that we already have up running. So you can load stuff without doing any of the code I wrote. You can just use the client app and everything works perfectly. We have this enable new charts flag. So when we shipped Reveal a few years ago, we had one chart package that we built. And then we've been slowly upgrading that over time. But since we already have a ton of customers, we let you opt in to use these new charts, because if you don't want to go through all your testing and all that again, you can just use the old charts. But I like to use the new charts. I'll show you why in a second. But you'll notice that because I am looking at my server, I didn't reference that local host that I already created. We'll look at that in a second. Then the other thing is I hard coded the sales dashboard name. So now if I look at what this actually did, you can see it loaded up the sales dashboard. Now the Reveal client, that JavaScript file that you pointed to from the CDN, has a bunch of different capabilities with it. So we've got all of the built-in filtering that you would need in your application. You don't have to write any code for any of this stuff. So for example, if I just want to look at EMEA and India, my dashboard updates. I can expand individual visualizations. I can change the way they look. So maybe I want this to be a stacked chart. Oh, well, maybe not. Maybe I want to just go back to this type of chart. Maybe I want to do some time series forecasting, 6 periods, and it'll update my chart based on the time series forecast. But what's even cooler is this drop down here where I can click edit. Now I'm in the dashboard editor. And this is a WYSIWYG drag and drop editor. So here I just maybe want to look at hot leads. And you can see that it's way up here. I'm going to guess there's something in my settings. Yep, we've got an axis bound set. I'm going to go ahead and delete that guy, and my chart will sort of look normal. I still have my time series forecast. I can go back here. Well, actually, while I'm here, I'll show you a couple other nice features that you have. Show hide legend, show hide title, show tool totals on the tooltip. So you can do a lot of different things here. I can actually add trend lines if I'd like. And when I click the checkbox, then I'm just updating this automatically to the server. So by using that dashboards folder that I showed you on the server side, we've built in loading and saving automatically. You don't have to write code to do any of that. The other nice thing here is this can get rearranged and resized, and you can sort of make this thing look however you want. So we have a full, ability for you to kind of go crazy with how you want your dashboards to look and feel. So it's actually pretty slick. And all that's built in the client. You don't have to do anything to make that happen. Now, I'll leave this guy here. Now, what I want to show you is that we did load up this other guy. So if you remember, we had our Swagger UI here, and we have localhost 7133. I'm going to go ahead and copy this guy, and I'm going to paste it right here. So you can see that I'm going to point to my local host. It reran, and now it's trying to load up sales again. Now, if I change this to marketing, like so, it's just going to load up the marketing dashboard perfectly. So I'm just loading up whatever happens to be in my server. So with that, you get this full round robin of the server and the client, and it makes it super easy to sort of create and load dashboards. I mean, I think I did this in about 10 minutes. Now, one thing I do want to show you is I want to show you some of the configuration. So if you remember when, when I said this is an SDK with an API, I'm going to open up in Visual Studio Code here one of the examples that we have online. And actually what I'm going to do with this, this guy here, I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and I am going to change this here to our 7133. This is our localhost 7133. But remember, I mentioned that this is an SDK. Brian spends most of his time making sure that the API is perfect and all these other things. Well, all those samples that you saw in GitHub are around exercising this API. So for example, branding is critical to embedding something in your own application. So we have a whole API around theming. So in this simple example for doing customizations, and remember I said, don't settle. Like one of the funniest things, Looker has, they claim some embedded API. It's an iframe, but you can change the color, and that's basically all you can do with their SDK. Where what you want, because you have a development team, you want to be able to set properties, and then this is what this does. You have properties, you have functions, you have events that you can respond to, write to, etc., to ensure that you have complete customization over everything that you are doing. So in this case, I just double click this. This is a local HTML file. And let's go ahead and see how this looks. So I've got my dark theme. Let's do the ocean light. These are all built in, ocean dark. Let's look at this other theme that Brian created, which is horrifying, but he's a developer, so that's okay. This is using custom fonts, but you can see that complete control, complete customization. That's the whole thing. And all I did here was load up this HTML file, and I pointed to my server here. That's it. It's that easy. So with that, looks like there was a few questions. Brian's been answering them in the chat. I will go ahead and we will wrap this guy up. So hopefully today you saw how easy it is to not only build a embedded SDK server, but to build a client in Angular and straight up HTML, set properties in those clients, be able to change themes, change fonts, create custom UI based on your own branding. And then we went over some of these do's and don'ts that you should think about when you're considering doing an embedded BI project. So we would love you to give Reveal a try. Go to revealbi.io. You can start with downloading the SDK, or you can just rewatch my video today and kind of follow along with those samples, or just go right over to GitHub and grab any one of those samples that Brian created, which show React, HTML, Angular. There's one up there for Blazor. My code snippets are there as well. And so you should be able to get started very quickly. Give us an email at sales@infragistics.com. Then, of course, if you have any other questions, I will bring back up here my slide here with our email addresses, and feel free to email myself or Casey with any questions.
So Jason,
yes,
I think now would be a good time to tease the new DOM that we're the only ones that actually have one of these.
Oh yeah, do you want to take over and show that?
Yeah, I can. I don't think I'm a host. Oh no, I am a co-host.
Well, if you want to do a demo, or I can show the GitHub repo.
Yeah, just show the GitHub repo.
All right, let me do that. So let me share my screen again. So what Brian is talking about is this awesome thing he's been working on. So if you think about what I just demoed a server piece and a client piece. So really what we have with Reveal is a renderer, which is a JavaScript library, and then this way to create dashboards, be it with Slingshot, a Reveal app, or whatever, and then the server piece, which does like authorization, authentication, loads dashboards. Well, what Brian did is he's formalizing that dashboard creation piece outside of using the application. So here, if we go to reveal.sdk.dom, what this allows you to do is actually in code, without using any tool, create dashboards. So you can connect to a data source. You can define the types of visualizations that you want. You can do the aggregations. You can set the titles, the properties, if you want to trend line, all the things that I showed you. But you're doing all of this through the document object model using code. So you don't have to use a tool. This happens to be one of the top requests that we have from our customers. I don't want to use a designer. I just want to be able to auto-generate dashboards in memory, or when a user logs in for the first time, I want to just splat out a bunch of stuff based on their parameters, and then they have all of that to view. So that's what this SDK DOM is. So if you're interested in that, I would download this. It's beta now. We're working on getting it to an RTM. Go over to the wiki, and on the wiki, what Brian did is he created a bunch of code snippets that help you make your way through not only the data sources, but how to create all of the visualizations. So you can go ahead and, hey, I want to know how to do a pivot table. Great. There's your code snippet. You want to know how to do a linear gauge. Great. There's your code snippet. But if you just grab the whole repo, there's a sample in there that will go through this. And the nice thing is you can create this all in memory. You can save out the RDash file, then you can load it up later, right? So you're doing everything without needing that designer. Because if you were using the visual designer, you would be using something, creating these dashboard templates like I did for sales and marketing, and then loading those up at runtime. So this is something that we'll definitely be doing a webinar on, probably in the September, October timeframe. We've already got some webinars set up for August right now, but Brian will be the MC for this one, and you will see how you can use the Reveal SDK DOM to create dashboards without using any design time, all using code, which is a highly requested feature. Good point, Brian. Thanks for that. All right, so it looks like we've answered every question here. Anything else that we should add, Brian, that we've worked on lately, or you have a release coming up next week, right?
Yeah, we have a release coming up next week, and we're actually going to be probably creating some different NuGet packages because we want to simplify our licensing process. Because right now, it's kind of cumbersome to do our licensing. So we're going to basically remove that requirement, and we'll have a single NuGet package on NuGet. You won't have to have like a trial. It's just one NuGet. You add your license, and you're good to go. Everything's gonna be seamless, easy.
Cool. All right. And then we have another webinar coming up August 18th, where we're going to create a full app and app builder, and then we're going to add BI to that. So that's a great webinar, August 18th, must see. Please attend that one. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. Thanks, Jesse, Brian, and Casey for setting all this up today. Thank you, everyone, for attending. I appreciate all your time. And please let us know if you have any questions. Shoot us an email at our respective emails or sales@infragistics.com. Have a great week, everyone. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.